Hey, good. It's evening now. We made it at past 6 o'clock here. So good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jamie Martin. Just right now getting the very latest that we have going on with Elsa. It's still a tropical storm. That's the good news. Not a hurricane, just tropical storm. However, that can still pack quite a punch. That's for sure. I was just looking up right now. In fact, I've got my computer going on right now, showing everybody that's already logged in here and talking to us right now. Mason was very happy he was first. I like that. We have Carol from Live Oak. Who else we have? Houston, Texas. Rachel, the good news is not looking at Houston, Texas. That's for sure. That's good news. But Ocala, we got Dana over in Gainesville. And right now we're looking at Deltona, very close there, Sarasota Bay. Boy, a lot of folks out there very interested in seeing what is going on there. I'll try to answer some questions for you, too, about what's going on. But again, we are talking about tropical storm and it's not a hurricane yet, but we're watching things very carefully. Let me go ahead and show the app right now. Again, I need this thing. I love having this thing with me. That is for sure, because it gives me all the information I need, and that's why you should have it also. That's for sure. And right now we're looking at Elsa. It's continuing its movement generally off towards the northwest, which it's probably going to keep going northwest for the next day or two before it starts to make more of a turn towards the north. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But again, we're looking at a movement right now off towards the northwest, about 14 miles per hour. So not moving quickly, but not nearly as fast as it was before a couple days ago. And right now, maximum sustained winds about 50 miles per hour. So it still could pack a punch. The good thing here is the fact, in fact, let me take the edge here off, and I want to show you what's going on right now. You can see the center of circulation. I'll come way in here into Cuba, and the reason I'm getting in really closer is because I want to show you basically what I'm talking about here is the fact that right now the actual center of circulation is beginning to move into the western parts here of Cuba, and that is actually good news as far as we're concerned, not probably the storm itself. But the good news here is the fact it still has to get through that land, and so it can't really intensify, that's for sure, as it's moving all of that, moving through all that land right now. However, it's not going to take that long to get over it and eventually end up in the Florida Straits, and that's going to be as we head in towards the overnight hours. That's when we could be seeing some kind of intensification. In fact, they're even sending out another hurricane hunter up there, reconnaissance aircraft, to get up there in the evening hours and see how things are going as the actual center of circulation moves its way offshore once again. So again, a lot of questions still going to be posed here as we continue through the evening and overnight hours here. So we're going to watch it very carefully. But as I mentioned, I really like using this app because of the fact we can get in on everything, not only just see where things are going, but you can also look at stuff about the information. Talk about tropical storm warnings. Those tropical storm warnings, of course, going to be in effect, and that's going to be from the Keys. In fact, it stretches all the way along the west coast here of Florida, all the way back out here through Tampa Bay and continuing to up about the Swanee River here. We're looking at those tropical storm warnings that are in effect now. We are expecting some pretty gusty winds, possibly sustained over 39 to 40 miles per hour here as we go through the next 2 days. And that's why we have warnings in effect in those locations. The other big problem is going to be storm surge. And anybody that's been in Florida, especially the West Coast, that's been through any kind of a tropical system, the problem here is depending on the angle that it takes as it moves its way along the West Coast, it pushes all that water up against that West Coast. And unfortunately, especially with Tampa Bay, a lot of it gets backed up into the bay, and you got some flooding going on there. So that's going to be a big problem coming up over the next couple of days. And again, this stretches all the way, these problems with the surge, all the way back out through Cedar Key, if you're interested in that. Horseshoe Beach, also seeing some problems there. All the way just about to Apalachicola, we're going to see some problems out there with all the heavy rainfall also across that area. Let me expand out that picture one more time. And again, what we're talking about in terms of timing, let's go and also look at what's going on with this. As you can see, we're talking about the movement continuing by tomorrow. By the time 6 a.m. rolls around, it looks like the center of circulation will be heading its way somewhere just off to the west of Key West itself, and then it's going to be shifting its way gradually up the west coast here of Florida. If we're lucky, at least the folks that live there in the west coast, if we're lucky, we'll be able to keep it offshore. Eventually, though, it does have to impact somebody, and it may be a little bit more towards that Big Bend area as opposed to maybe, say, Sarasota or Clearwater, Dunedin area. However, this could easily shift. Right now, the official forecast track, again, this is a forecast, Doesn't mean it's going to go this way, but the forecast track right now does bring it still offshore as it passes by Tampa Bay, and this is going to be rolling as we get in towards the 7th here. So again, as we get in towards Wednesday morning through 6 a.m. and then continuing into Wednesday evening, it's going to be moving its way over towards Gainesville, Lake City, especially as we get into that time period, and then eventually accelerating pretty quickly off through parts of Georgia near the coast there. Savannah, again, going to be a problem there, and then heading also over towards the extreme eastern parts here of North and South Carolina. So that's what we're looking at right now. Let me go ahead and show you also what's going on. Let's go ahead and show you the WSI, because I do want to show you the current watches and again those warnings, and that's going to be those tropical storm warnings, as I mentioned, kind of in that purple color that extends all the way from Key West, the Dry Tortugas, all the way back out through say Naples, then back up towards Fort Myers, Cape Coral, then you get up towards Sarasota, then you get over towards St. Pete, Clearwater, Dunedin, and then continuing all the way up through Pasco County. Then you get up towards Swanee River itself, and then you get up towards Deacle Beach, Horseshoe Beach area, and then you go all the way back up towards Tallahassee. So again, we're looking at some problems extending all the way along the west coast here of Florida itself. So we're going to have to watch that very carefully. And again, this is going to be just right along the coast itself, but we actually have some watches that are going to affect a little bit farther inland. And that does include, for the Orlando metro area, that does include areas including Lake County and also Sumter County. So again, it's going to continue to push its way generally off towards that area. Let me get put this one more advanced for you, because besides that, it's going to be the wind. When are these winds going to arrive? Well, here's what we're looking at right now. The winds are going to be coming in mainly Monday late in the day across the southwestern parts here, Naples, and heading over towards Fort Myers, and heading into Tuesday morning through about 6 a.m., 8 a.m. time frame. Then we get over towards the daytime hours through the afternoon for lunchtime. That's going to be heading through Fort Myers and then heading up towards Tampa Bay. That'll be later during the day on Tuesday, tomorrow, and then through Wednesday. So again, a lot of this is going to be shifting its way northward pretty quickly. So if you don't have your plans made yet, if you haven't done your planning, say you haven't gone out to get any kind of supplies, water, things like that, perishable goods, if you haven't filled up your car, please go make sure you do that. That is for sure. Try to get it done quickly, because you want to get it done before it gets too crowded. And again, with these warnings going into effect right now, it's on everybody's mind, and that's exactly what's going to happen. People are going to go and they're going to start grabbing stuff. It doesn't even matter, and sometimes they're just going to grab anything. So make sure you have your plan ready. Get there as quick as you can. If you haven't done it, get what you can and give yourself your patience. You're going to need your patience when you go to the store, that's for sure. And then just get what you do in one trip, because you don't want to be going back and forth. You want to stay off the roads also, especially as the winds begin to pick up along the west coast. East coast, a little bit better, but we're still going to see the opportunity, unfortunately, for some strong to severe weather back out through the entire peninsula here of Florida as we continue our way through the next 2 days. Let's go ahead and take a look at that storm surge. Again, we do have storm surge warnings now all the way up towards Cedar Key. As you can see, we could be looking at storm surge up to about 3 to 5 feet in some locations, and that could definitely be a problem. Make sure you do leave, that is for sure, especially if an evacuation becomes mandatory. Don't ride it out along the coast. Get inland. That is for sure. You want to stay safe out there. Even a 1 to 3 foot storm surge down in the extreme southern parts here from about Naples southward and over towards Key West. That's the extent that we're looking at right there. So again, here's the look at that forecast track. Again, heading into Tuesday and Wednesday, right along the west coast of Florida, continuing up towards the Big Bend, heading its way through the extreme northern parts of Florida, heading in towards Georgia, through the Carolinas, heading just offshore of the mid-Atlantic here. Could be a problem even up towards D.C. as it moves its way through. It looks like it's going to lose some of its punch in terms of the actual wind speed, though. That's good, but still going to be dealing with gusty winds, and you're still going to be dealing with all that very heavy rain coming down. It's going to be a big problem. A lot of folks still have the week off because of the holiday, and that could be a big problem as people are trying to get out and about. So make sure you are prepared, not only in the state of Florida. We talk a lot about it because that's the first place to get hit, but you still have to worry about it along the coastal section, Savannah and up and down Brunswick area, back out here through parts of Georgia, and then you get into South Carolina, Hilton Head, same situation. Got to watch out because you're going to be on the east side, and the east side is the stronger side of these storms. That's where you have the heavier bands, and you got those gusty winds and the possibility of isolated tornadoes possible. So yeah, got to watch out for that also. So that's that track heading its way up towards parts of the mid-Atlantic. So again, that is what we're going to be watching for. Now again, the timing is over the next 2 days. Yes, as I mentioned, it's going to be coming in, possibly just offshore and heading towards the Big Bend. But this can move any way it wants to. It does not listen to us. That is for sure. It's a storm system. It has no idea what it wants to do until it gets there. So we could see a shift maybe to the west. That would take it more towards Apalachicola, towards Panama City. Once again, they could be getting hit with some of the worst weather again up to over towards Panama City. Or it could go to the east and it could head over towards Tampa Bay, Dunedin area, and heading its way over towards Gainesville. Once again, possibly even over towards the villages. A lot of folks in the villages, that's for sure. They definitely want to have their plans also. Let me go ahead and see real quick who's up here today. And again, a lot of people asking questions from here too. Let's see, at the villages, once again, as I mentioned, it's a very large area. They really do have a lot of people there, but they also have a lot of things. They have got an immense amount of infrastructure there that can help you out. That's for sure if you have something like that, especially when you're talking about the villages, because this is something you want to get done as far as preparing by the time you get through tomorrow, because even if it comes in late Tuesday into early Wednesday in your area, you still have to get it done early in the day, because you'll start to see those bands moving their way closer and closer as we head through the daytime hours tomorrow. Let me see what else we got here now. Definitely never let your guard down. That is for sure. Irma, very good point. Irma had the same exact thing. It's amazing how people remember these storms when they do come through, and they remember the lessons that you learned, because you always learn lessons. You just have to kind of watch what goes on before, during, and after these storms to learn things and be better prepared. And hopefully a lot of folks are. Hopefully, as I mentioned, as far as getting prepared, you have to have your plan in place. You have to go out and get it done now. You have to then just sit down, relax, and just be ready for that storm. Again, it could shift, and that's the good news, or it could come closer and it could get a little worse than you expected. So just make sure you are planning for the worst and then basically hoping for the best. And that's exactly what a lot of folks do, especially in the state of Florida. The good news here, as I mentioned, if you're just tuning in, it is still a tropical storm. Elsa is still a tropical storm, not a hurricane. Winds sustained of 50 miles per hour, so not exactly a strong storm system right now. However, that's because it's been interacting with Hispaniola as it moved its way by. It interacted with over towards Jamaica. Then it interchanged also once it moved in the western parts of Cuba. That's going to be the big thing right now. So again, next 6 to 8 hours, it's going to be moving mainly over parts of Cuba, then heading its way off into the Gulf of Mexico and the Florida Strait. So that's when we have to watch very carefully, see what happens here. So unfortunately, during the overnight hours, and most folks are going to be sleeping, that's when we kind of have to really watch that storm system, because we have to see if Elsa does start to regain some of that strength and some of that momentum once again, because right now it's not exactly the best formed storm, and hopefully it stays exactly like that as it moves its way just offshore of the state of Florida and eventually moving in. So let's see what we have going on. Somebody heading towards the Jersey Shore, actually, for Thursday through Sunday. The good news here, hopefully you're not driving. And if you are driving, you may want to take the inland areas, that's for sure. Stay away from I-95, because right now, the way the forecast track goes, does not look like the time you want to be on I-95 or even 75 for the most part through Wednesday and Thursday, especially, because that's when we're looking for the system to, even though it may downgrade itself down to a tropical depression, then a post-tropical system. Unfortunately, you're still going to be dealing with the heavy rain as it moves its way through parts of the Delmarva Peninsula area and D.C. D.C. and I-95, it's hard enough on a normal day to get through there. And when you're talking about a storm that's moving its way through with all those gusty winds and all of that rainfall, it's going to be a real problem out there. So if you are heading up to the North Shore or Jersey Shore, heading up towards Cape Cod, things like that, you're going to have to deal with this by the end of the week, and that's going to be the unfortunate thing. The good news is it will move fairly quickly, so hopefully you can still get up there, but just be very careful. Take the safest trip, that is for sure. Let's see what else we have going on here. Try to see what else we have. Somebody from Panama City. I know you right now, Jolene. You do not want to have this come over there. But as I mentioned, that the bad thing is, Panama City. Unfortunately, that is kind of in the cone. So there is a possibility it could stay a little bit more to the west and move a little farther north and turning to the northeast, and that could cause some problems there too. So you have to be careful of that. For you, you almost hope it does come a little bit closer towards Tampa Bay. You'll be on the safer side, but unfortunately, that means worse conditions for Orlando, even if it does come a little bit closer. So again, we've got those watches in effect right now, tropical storm watches, even in the inland areas, as I mentioned, like Lake County, Sumter County. They're kind of waiting on it right now, unless they've decided to change on it. Let me double check that and make sure it hasn't changed. It should not have changed yet. But I just want to make sure that nothing has changed as far as the area in Florida itself, as far as those watches and warnings. Let me reload that just to double check, because we do have the tropical storm warnings, for Hernando, Pasco County, folks right along the beaches there. From Pinellas County, we have Hillsborough, because obviously you got the entire bay right there. Then you got Sarasota stretching all the way down towards Fort Myers. You guys already have those tropical storm warnings in effect. Now, inland areas may not have the warnings. They may just have the watches. But unfortunately, they're probably going to be getting warnings because of the fact it will be so close, and we're getting in that east side, and that's that side that produces some of the worst weather. The west side is a little bit better. It's that east side that has the strongest storms, and that's where those bands just come in. And boy, when they come in, you could be 15, 20 miles away, and you could just have some gusty winds, but nothing terrible, nothing bad going on. 15, 20 miles away, you're in one of those bands. You've got tremendous rain and the wind gusts that could easily get above that 40, 45 miles per hour. So you could see some problems with tree limbs down, possibly even trees down. And that's even before the center of circulation gets anywhere close to you. So again, it's a very active situation, that is for sure. It's active, but only for that area that's going to be near the center of circulation. And again, what we're looking at right now is a forecast track, not a track for sure. And that one is going to be somewhere either just offshore of the west coast here of Florida, or in towards that west coast around the Tampa Bay area or Fort Myers as we head into the next 36 hours or so. So today is the best day of the next few. It's just going to keep getting worse as we continue our way through Tuesday and also for Wednesday. Let me go ahead and flip that back on so I can get back up there and see if we have any other questions. Basically, a lot of people have been asking a lot of questions the last couple of days, and I think everyone's basically been listening. Not only from myself, obviously, but from everybody, and everybody's kind of had their plans ready. With the holiday in place, a lot of folks hopefully already had as much water as they needed. They had some food, they had things like that already home and already ready. So hopefully they didn't have to go out. Make sure, as I mentioned, that you have your gas tank filled up. Make sure that you also have propane for your barbecue. If you do for some reason lose power and you don't have the power, you definitely want to make sure. Speaking of power, I do want to show something real quick. Matt, if you don't mind, I'm also going to go back here to the app one more time because let me make sure that it's still connected. Yeah, it is. Okay, we have this great app, and basically one of the best things about it is these blue areas. They are all about power outages, and you can actually get in there. It'll tell you about it. In Darlington County, we have some outages right there. So again, not affecting a lot of people, but the good news is the fact that it even shows it to you right there. And when you're talking about a tropical system, things like that, this shows you right away we're seeing the worst of it. And again, we've got all of these problems. Let me take you, in fact, let me go run down back through here and hit some of these warnings and watches that we have in effect across the area. So right here, you got your tropical storm warning, tropical storm warnings right now. So I can go show you what's going on as far as that one is concerned. As you can see, that's just talking about the tropical storm itself. Let me go back again and see if I get the one. There's the one. There's the full report here. And again, it's going to tell you all about what's going on, what's expected, when the winds are expected. You can go to your specific county and find out exactly what's going on with all of that, because there's an awful lot of them, that's for sure. And again, you're even looking at some of the inlet sections that are dealing with some of those problems too, as far as the watches and those warnings are concerned. And already beginning to pick up some of the storms and some of those heavy rain showers. Let me go ahead and take off the warnings, and let me go back over there. Let me take over that, and let me also take out the hurricane track, because I do want to show you the state of Florida right now, already beginning to pick up, not so much over towards Gainesville or Ocala, right there along the Turnpike and I-75. Not so much right there, but down around Orlando, and then stretching all the way back through Miami, West Palm Beach, Lake Okeechobee, back over towards Fort Myers. Already picking up some pockets of heavy rain there. Again, this is all that tropical moisture moving its way northward right now. Center of circulation, as you can see, now that I've taken everything out, not very well defined as far as the circulation itself, but Elsa does have the possibility as it moves its way again in this area right here between Key West and Cuba. So right between Havana and Cuba, which is about 90 miles. Basically, that's Florida Straits right there, and that's very, very warm. And as the center of circulation moves over that location, it's going to get rid of all the mountains, and then it's just going to be sitting there eating up all of that very, very warm water. And that's why we could be seeing some kind of intensification as far as that goes as we head our way through the next 24 to 36 hours in the southern part of the state, and then about 36 to 48 hours as we go in towards late Tuesday and into Wednesday. So again, boy, a lot's going to be going on, that is for sure. Let me see if I got any questions over here. Let's see, Florida Power and Light. Being the trees clean, that's good. If they've been doing a lot of tree work, that is very good. How did you think about Burlington, North Carolina? The worst thing for North Carolina as far as the storm would be, basically it's going to lose its pack, its punch, shall we say, as far as the strongest winds go, as it moves its way through parts of southern Georgia. By the time it gets into South Carolina, it'll really start to dissipate a bit in terms of its intensity, but we're still going to be dealing with the bands. We're going to be dealing with the gusty winds, and the heavy rain is going to cause some problems with some localized flooding for both North and South Carolina. So that's going to be the big problem for you guys. It's going to be the very heavy rain. That's why if you can avoid traveling, please do. And again, never, ever, ever drive over flooded roadways, even if you think it's barely anything. Why take the chance? You don't want to take that chance. And unfortunately, that's a lot of times that's what we hear in terms of fatalities. Unfortunately, there are fatalities even on small storms. And the reason is you've got the pre-stuff, before the storm even gets there, that you have people that are doing things that they don't normally do. You got to be very careful. Some people may be even possibly boarding up, things like that. Got to be careful with that. Careful with ladders, especially. Falling off a ladder, not good. That is for sure. That's before it even gets there. Then during the storm itself, hopefully you're in a secure part of your dwelling. If you are, then that's good. But make sure you have all your supplies, water, things like that. If you have pets, try to put the pets in the kennels, and that way they're in there safely in there. Keep everybody and the pets and everything in that secure area, that interior room that doesn't have to worry about any glass or anything like that. If something does hit the window, something like that, while the storm is actually going through. And again, this could be a long one, because right now it's only moving at about 14 miles per hour. So it's not a very fast moving storm now. That is for sure. So you want to have that. And then, of course, afterwards, you got to make sure you're extremely careful when you're picking things up. It may have been a small, by the time it gets to where you are, it could just be could be a depression, could be even a post one. And the thing is, you're still going to have some problems. You're still going to have some tree limbs down. You want to make sure you're cleaning things up safely and not having a problem. And for goodness sakes, and I know everybody probably gets tired of hearing me say this all the time, if you have a generator, make sure you don't have it anywhere near the house. Don't keep it near the house. Don't put it in the garage. Don't leave the door open and think that's going to be enough. Don't do that. Make sure you have it somewhere completely outside of your house. You don't want any of that carbon monoxide getting inside. That is one thing we do not want to have to worry about. That is for sure. Let's see if we got into a cancellation notice yet. Here's actually somebody interesting that's asking about cancellations for flights. I have not yet heard of that, but actually I was just texting with my sister, who's a teacher over right now in Dunedin. And so she lives over there, and they've actually, she was at work today, or she was going to work coming up for tomorrow, but they've actually canceled all the way through Thursday now with school. I'm not saying everybody's school's canceled. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying hers. So that's all I'm saying. Make sure you phone ahead or check the website and make sure before you can say officially it's been canceled. But trust me, folks along the West Coast, especially officials, they know the drill. If you're under a tropical storm warning, they are not going to have a lot of things open. So if you have plans coming up tomorrow, you had something you had to do, you had an appointment for something, make sure you phone ahead, because a lot of the doctors also cancel all of that too, because they don't want people coming in during the middle or right before something hits. They want everybody to stay safe. That also reminds me another thing. Make sure you have all your medications. Make sure you're not going to run out just in case something does happen. You don't want to run out right in the middle of this. So don't delay. Get everything done that you have to. That's for sure. Let me see what else we have going on here. That's actually, hey, Dylan, how's it going? Dunedin. I was raised in Dunedin, so there you go. Is there? You're in Ohio, but okay, your girlfriend's there. Just check. Make sure that she's got all of her supplies. Make sure that she's in a safe place. And again, tell her that everything. It doesn't mean it's going to be horrible, but it just really depends on the ultimate track on what's going on. So this is one of those things where just be prepared. Make sure that she keeps her phone charged, because that's the one big thing. You got to make sure you have your batteries. And a lot of times it's just something you have to recharge. Just make sure you have some way to recharge your phone, because a lot of folks are going to be calling, whether you are 2 years old or 82 years old. People are going to be calling your family, your friends that live in other parts of the country, and they're going to, they want to call you and to find out what's going on. How are you doing? And if they can't get a hold of you because the phone it goes straight to voicemail, no. That's not good, because that'll just give them a lot of anxiety in terms of what's going on. So that's one big thing you want to do. You want to make sure everybody has a way to get a hold of you. That is for sure. Dunedin, and also just be very careful. You're going to be tempted to head over to like the Dunedin Causeway, beautiful area. But as the storm is coming, a lot of people are tempted to see what it looks like. If it is extremely safe and it's not blocked off, please do not go around it. You may go out and look at it for a short period of time, but as soon as that wind starts to get worse, you see those bands getting closer, that's when you want to get in, that's for sure, because you don't want to be out in the middle of that. Let's see what else we've got going on here. All right, we got another one talking about Jonesboro, Georgia. It looks like really, depending on the exact angle it takes, it has to make that northeasterly turn. It does look like it will do that after it gets its way up to the Big Bend of Florida, and then it makes that northeasterly turn. So probably going to be losing its intensity a bit. Still going to be a problem going to be whether or not it makes that turn. If it stays more straight north still, then you're going to have that spreading up towards there in Georgia, and you're going to have more problems with the heavy rain and those bands coming through. So again, still lots of questions. At least you have a little more time than the folks that are down in Miami and Fort Myers right now. Those folks are definitely making sure all their stuff is together. So let's see. Phone. All right. How about Billy? Okay, there's another one asking about Naples. The way it looks right now, the way it angles right there in Naples, it's it's a very interesting angle that it takes. So right now, even with the wind, the way it's going to be coming in, because again, remember, you are looking at that counterclockwise spin, that area of low pressure of the storm. So that the east side looks like the actual center of circulation is going to be out in the Atlantic itself. In fact, I can put the app up. So if you're looking at just my face, no matter how much you like looking at my face, not as intuitive as this. I'm looking at the state of Florida here. As you can see with Naples, basically what you're talking about is about a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. But it's once you get up a little bit higher, up towards north of Fort Myers, and especially once you get up towards Sarasota and get over towards Tampa Bay, over to Clearwater, St. Pete, that whole area right there, Treasure Island, that's where we're starting to see it getting up to maybe a 2 to 4 foot storm surge. And then once you get up a little bit farther up and you get up here towards Cedar Key and eventually over towards Deacle Beach and places like that, that's where you're going to be picking up some of the higher ones. So we're talking about possibility right now, and again, it's forecast of 3 to 5 feet with the surge. So again, that's going to be one of the bigger problems that we're going to have in that part of the state as the system itself continues to move up. So Elsa will continue to move its way up. And, it very well could intensify, not expecting it to intensify greatly, but it could intensify back up to a strong tropical storm as it moves its way up a little bit closer towards the state of Florida. We just have to wait and see what happens. As I mentioned, we do have the reconnaissance aircraft is going to be out there later on tonight and into the overnight hours, because it's basically going down there just as the center of circulation moves back over into the Florida Straits. Then you'll be able to see just how quickly it starts to wrap itself back together and intensify. If it does it rapidly, that would be bad. We don't want to have to talk about that. but that is always a possibility. So that's why I want you to prepare for the worst, and that would be one of the worst cases of this scenario, is the fact that things got intensified than it was right now, because it's over parts of Cuba right now. So again, Elsa right now, hey, I'll take, you don't have a choice, but I'd rather have a 50 mile per hour maximum wind than a 75 or 80 mile per hour maximum sustained wind and make it a hurricane again. So hopefully we're only going to be dealing with a tropical storm as it moves its way through. Let's see what we got. Let me see what we have. In Florida, there you go. That's good. Thank you, Penny, for making sure you're getting a hold of all your friends and stuff in Florida, because that really is the way to go. And you know what? I know a lot of, we always, I'm one of those people that love to see pictures and videos and stuff like that of storms that are going through, but especially when tropical storms like this, do play it on the safe side. Really, one of those things. A regular thunderstorm or something, when it's far away, it's always beautiful because you can just sit there safely. It's so far away, and you can do videos and stuff like that. But this, the problem is going to be things blowing once again. That's going to be one of the big problems. Besides the blowing, besides that, we're also going to be dealing, of course, with that storm surge. In fact, let me go back down here real quick, and if you don't mind, Matt, I'm going to throw back on once again a couple of different things that we have going on here. Let me load this up for you. And show you again what we have going on as far as those warnings go. Again, the tropical storm warnings are stretched, used to be down just towards Key West and down towards Fort Myers and Naples, but now it's all the way through Tampa, all the way up towards the Big Bend. So again, we have those warnings in place. And besides that, it's not just that. It's also, again, going to be those high winds that move through. And again, the winds, it looks like some of the heaviest wind is going to be just offshore if it stays far enough offshore, but it's going to be awfully close, especially once it gets up towards Tampa. As you can see, those brighter oranges here, and you can see this would be, again, through Tuesday morning and into the afternoon. That's when things will get even worse in Tampa itself. Anybody that's from Tampa, if you've ever visited Tampa, if you've been out by Tampa Bay itself, it does flood quite often, even with just regular storms. So unfortunately, this is going to be a prolonged period of seeing things like that going on. And the West Coast and the central part of Florida is going to be on that east side, and that's going to cause those bands to come through with the very, very heavy rain and also the extremely gusty wind. So again, storm surge problems out there. Again, storm surge warnings are in effect in many locations along the West Coast here, including Tampa, including all the way down towards Naples. Could see up to 3 to 5 foot storm surge there as you get up a little bit farther north, especially once you get up towards the Swanee River. So that's something that we definitely want to bear watching. And again, this is all going to be shifting its way generally off towards eventually from the northwest to the north and then the northeast. And that's why it's not just a Florida problem. This is a Florida problem. This is possibly a Georgia problem. It's possibly a Carolina problem also. But again, it really depends what happens over the next 24 hours as the center itself moves its way offshore and moves its way towards Key West and over the Florida Straits. That's going to be the big question maker. Will the low to the over in the Gulf of Mexico combine with a high out in the Atlantic? Where exactly is that going to push it through? Because it's got to go through. The question is, which way is it for sure going to go? I will let you all have the rest of your, hopefully you had Monday off. Hopefully you had a wonderful day. Hopefully you did a little bit of planning also. That's for sure. Let me see what else I have here. Who's there helping? Sandy's asking who's there helping me. Sandy, I don't need any help. No, I'm just kidding. No, I have a lot of folks. Matt's actually driving the bus right now. I'm sitting in the back of the bus with all my computers looking at stuff. But basically, we have everybody coming in. Leslie will be with you tomorrow. Mike will be in tomorrow. We're all going to be here. That's for sure. And the big thing for us is we really make sure one of our biggest jobs is not only to be able to sit back and talk to you guys and just, see how things are going and try to reassure you that things will be okay as long as you're prepared. The other thing we really there's so many people, there's an amazing amount of people in the background that make sure that all of this stuff gets pushed out at the proper time and with accuracy, because we don't want to give you the wrong information, especially when it comes to tropical systems. So it's not just me. Yeah, it'd be great. I could sit here and just go, Yep, did everything myself. Yeah, I hope I hope you got all the information you need. Not at all. There's a ton of people here that work very, very hard to make sure that you got all the information, and so I appreciate them. That is for sure, because I'm the one that looks at this stuff. They're the ones that make sure everything else gets out there. Matt's going to be running, and again, one of the other things we like to do also is run all these maps, things like that, and all the different things that we have as far as showing you where all the warnings and watches are and stuff. All of those graphics, basically, we'll try to run also periodically to make sure you do catch them. If you're not looking at your app, for some reason you want to see them with the WSI information, you can also do that too, as I mentioned. So that's also out there. So a lot of folks are working very, very hard, that's for sure. But thank you for asking. I do appreciate that, without a doubt. Yep. And Sandy loves Matt. There you go. Good job. Really it is. Thank you all. Thanks to all the crew. Hold on. I think I just saw Daytona. I got to do that. In Daytona. Oh, okay. You got it's my radar for flying. Oh, nice. Every day. I will be, after all this is done, I will be up in your house, or at your house. I will go flying with you. That's for sure. That's one thing I always used to do here in Central Florida, especially. But I grew up glider flying and stuff over in Clearwater. So it's one of those things where Florida and all the Southeast I know so well from even when I was a little bit of a kid. It's a wonderful place. It's beautiful. There's so many great things to do, but weather can turn on you really, really quickly. The good news here is the fact that we have plenty of time here. We have at least another 12 to 24 hours in many parts of the West Coast here. But again, that's only like 12 to 24 hours. That's not a ton of time, but there is still time. So hopefully you've made your appropriate plans and you've actually executed them by now. If you haven't, if you have time, get them done. If it's too late, don't try to go out and do it now. Just keep what you have and just keep your fingers crossed. Keep your fingers crossed, because we are possibly going to see that thing moving a little bit further off to the west. If that does happen, though, and it stays away from the West Coast, like the Tampa area, even Fort Myers, if it stays farther off in the Gulf of Mexico, great news for folks along the west coast of Florida. Bad news for folks up in the Panhandle. Once you get up there towards Deco, on the west side of Deco Beach, then you head over all the way to St. George's Island, and then you get over towards Panama City. That's where they could be seeing problems also. So again, lots of questions. We will be here, that's for sure, and we will keep you updated on what's going on over the next couple of days. Again, starting off with Florida and parts of the Southeast, and possibly even having to deal with it as it moves its way off of the Mid-Atlantic. So it's going to be a busy couple of days, that's for sure. We'll keep you updated on what's going on. You all take care, and just be careful out there, and we'll try to keep you safe.
you.